Hello all, this is Eric from DRA Global, and this video is for training purposes at DRA PMC, and this one in particular is the configuration of a digital alarm. We presume that whomever is watching this, technician or engineer, has a basic knowledge of TI Portal version 18. So to start off with, I've already got my project open, so we want to add a digital alarm. So I'm going to go to my PLC section and my configured PLC, and I'm going to go to my digital section, and I want to add a new input. So this folder structure is manually created, and it's an IEC standard that we follow. So I'm going to go to my input section and say I want to add a new block. This block will be of the FC type. I am going to give it a name. It's an FC area 100 and it is switch low. Please take note that these tags that I'm going to be creating is just for example purposes. I'm going to select manual FC number allocation, and I'm going to give it the address of 3000. Anyway, and this doesn't turn red, it means that this is a free address that we can use. And I can give it a title and a comment if needs be. You can also author if you want to do change management control on this. So I'm just going to say OK, and my new FC is created. So in my network, I'm going to just call it instrument name, so I know when I'm opening this in the space. Now for my digital input block, I'm going to open up my project library. I'm going to go to the standard library, go to my PLC section, my IO drivers, and select the digital input and drag it across. It's going to prompt me to create a DB for this instance, so I'm going to just give it the same name as my FC with the prefix of DB, and I'm going to give it a manual DB address, which is the same address as my FC, just for convention purposes. And I'm going to click OK, and it has created my new block. I'm going to then just remove this new network that program created because I'm not going to use it. And here's my block instance. So you will see that there's an error, and this error is due to the UDT that's not connected. So in order to create a new UDT, of course, there's a separate DB which hosts all these UDTs. So I can just go and open my digital tags. I can select the line, open below, and I can create a new UDT. You'll see that it automatically gave me the data type here, and that's just because the item on top had the same. But if this is a new section, you can actually just go here and browse for the specific UDT that you require and select it. Now let's say that this is a critical instrument and I want the configuration to be retained in the event of a power outage or a stoppage on my PLC. I can just select the retain box. When I open this UDT, there's a few parameters that we can configure. So first of all will be my tag name. This gets sent to the SCADA for display purposes. So I can give it string and a description, and let's give it a description. Tank number 1 level switch low. And I've got a DB section, and this is also for SCADA purposes to backtrace where this block instance is created for fault finding for the technicians. The other parameters that we've also gotten here is the input filter timer and the output filter timer. So let's say that in this tank on this level switch the water is quite turbulent and I don't want any nuisance alarms. I want to have an input filter of, it's got predefined as 1 second, but let's say we want it shorter and I actually want it 500 milliseconds. Output, this is for the enabling of the alarm. I want it to be a bit delayed because my tank can vary throughout the day and I don't want any nuisance alarms coming through to my scale. So let's say that will be 5 seconds. And I can then to connect this UDT to the block. A simple shortcut that one can use is the splitting of the windows. I can just click on that icon and you'll see that my FC pops up on the right hand side. And I can select this UDT tag and drag it across to the UDT input of my block. And if I click it again, it will just open my new section of my newly created FC. So now I want to connect my raw input. I'm going to go down to my field IO devices, and I know, for example, that on this Rio, in this section of the digital inputs, there is currently not configured, so I can go select this in particular and give it also a tag name, and I can just copy this. Also assign this newly created tag to a specific tag table of your prerequisites. So I'm going to go back to my block and I can paste that tag in there. The second two inputs is the diagnostic input. So certain input cards allows for diagnostics, for example broken wires or short circuits, and you can connect then that tag also to this diagnostic input. For this example, on the Emerson card, we are just going to pop in a true there because we don't have diagnostics available. On the newer ET200 MP cards, you do have that capability and you can connect that tag in here. Then next will be my alarm enable. So this input is to mask your alarms. So let's say, for example, this level switch is a alarm that is configured for a specific tank, and if the pump is not running, then I don't want this alarm to be enabled. I can connect the run feedback, for example, to this input, so it won't give me alarm output if the pump has stopped. But for this one, I think we can just give it a true so that my alarm is always available. Then I've got two outputs. My alarm output, this is subject to the alarm enable. If this is not enabled, then regardless of the output, I would always have a true signal coming from this. Then the general output. This output is derived from the input through the input filter and output filter, and this will be typically used inside your program to either be a interlock or, let's say, a prerequisite on a sequence, up to your discretion. So my block is now configured, and now the next step will be to do a call. So I've got predefined here a digital call block, which I'm going to open. I'm going to select a new line and I'm going to drag my newly created FC into that space. So this block is now then called. I can then run a software compile to see that I don't have any errors. And then what I can do is I can download this now to my PLC. There are several ways one can go about this. You can download it to your actual PLC, or you can run the standard PLC simulator from DRA version 18. or in the case that I'm using PLC Sim Advanced. So I'm already connected to that PLC, so I'm just going to go here and say changes only, and it will download my newly created block. Next step will be to pull this onto my SCADA. So I'm going to open up my digital tags, DB again. I'm going to split my windows, and I'm going to go to my WinCC project. In my WinCC project, under the HMI tags, there's a lot of predefined tag tables here. You can create a new tag table if needs be. For this one, I'm going to use the test section. And all I need to do is to drag then this newly created UDT across to this tag table, and it will create my new tag in the SCADA. You'll see that it already points to the correct area. It's a symbolic address, and it has a connection to my AS1, which is my PLC project. By default, it will give a prefix of the DB location on here, but we don't want that, so I'm just going to delete that digital tags underscore. And my tag is within the SCADA. So next step is I'm going to identify which area I want to actually have this level switch. So I'm going to go to my screens and my mimic section, and let's say, for example, that this instrument needs to go onto this tag. So what I'm going to do is libraries, I'm going to navigate to SCADA and faceplates, IO displays, and here at the bottom I've got my digital alarms, and I'm going to drag this across next to my tag. When I click on this object and I go to properties and the interface, you'll see that I've got two parameters that I need to fill in. First of all, the digital alarm tag, and then tag visibility as per the ASM standard. So I'm going to select here HMI tag, go to the browse, search for my test tag table, and we'll see that my new created tag is in here, and I can select it. If this turns red, it means that that tag is not compatible with that specific faceplate. So next is my tag visibility. I'm also going to select HMI tag here, and I've got a default section for screen management with show tags, which I'm going to select. Then to configure the pop-up script, I'll go to my events page. So you will see here that no script has been allocated yet. So to get that script in there, I'm going to go to my system area, and I'm going to go to my index. So this is a standard page that has been created with all objects, so that you can either simulate here and get a better understanding of the block, but it's also a storage area for background scripting that we will use when configuring blocks. So I'm going to go to my digital alarm. I'll see that there's already an event script listed here. I'll copy that, go back to my new instrument, and I'm going to paste that script in here. But we're not done yet. We will need to add tag specifically for this. So at the set tag for digital, I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to type in my newly created tag. Take note that this data type is actually of a string type defined here, so any misspelling or incorrect symbols being used here, it will not connect to the specific tag. So the tag that you enter here must fully reflect on the tag that was created here. It is also case sensitive, so please take note of that. Next input area is our trend. The trending section I will handle in a different video. So for this trend, I am just going to add my default trend of no trend to this section. And it is created. So now I can go, I can compile my screen and give it a save. If it's the first time you want to test, you can just select your WinCC project and click on the runtime simulation. I'm already running my runtime simulation, so I'm just going to open it up now again. You know that we placed that instrument at our MAG tank, so I'm going to go to the MAG and you'll see that my new instrument has been created here. If I deselect my tag section, you'll see that it actually falls away, and if I select it, it will pop back up. So I can open my tag now. Currently I'm logged in as the engineer. I'm going to go to my configuration, and here's a few items that we need to enable. So by default my simulation would not be valid, so I can select this instrument to have simulation. Also polarity, that is in the case that negative logic is being used and I want to have positive logic in my system, then I can select the polarity. Also, if my IO bit, the diagnostic bit, is not available, I can also just deselect that. This area here is purely because of the trending section, and as mentioned before, we will handle the trending in a separate video. So I can just close that. Now I'm going to come here to the enable simulation, and I can now simulate if my tag is in an alarm state. I can give it the reset, and it should give me a reset now, and my alarm is now healthy. If I say simulate alarm, you will see that the color change and it say alarm unhealthy. So that is it for the digital alarm allocation. Hope this was helpful, and have a lovely day.